What's going on, everyone? So take a quick second and just have a look at the Denver Nuggets starting five. Like, you have Reggie Jackson, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Justin Holiday, DeAndre Jordan, and Michael Porter Jr. No Murray, no Jokic, and yet they still ended up beating the Clippers on the road in LA with the Clippers having a lead in the fourth and ended up outscoring the Clippers by 20 points. Outscored them 36-16 in the fourth quarter. Now, this was a Reggie Jackson revenge game for sure. I mean, this guy had 35 points, 5 rebounds, 13 assists, 2 steals, and only 2 turnovers in 40 minutes of play. 15 of 19 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3. This was a revenge game. I mean, DeAndre Jordan, right? I mean, that was a lot longer ago, but still, I mean, he turned back the clock and looked like, prime Jokic, right? I mean, he had 21 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists, 8 of 11 from the field. He also had a block and 2 steals. I mean, this dude looked like the greatest center ever out there. And I just think it's really funny. I mean, even like the bench for Denver wasn't great. I mean, they had some solid bench production from Watson and Nijin. Outside of that, it was mostly Reggie Jackson, DeAndre Jordan, KCP, and Justin Holiday, right? Michael Porter Jr. had a rough shooting night. Still managed to grab 10 boards, but the Clippers are they're a mess. They're just not a good basketball team, and they have all this talent. They have all these players on paper, and they just cannot put it together. They are now 7-9 on the season. Luckily, it's still early for them, right? To where they're right now they're half a game out of the play-in. But I really wouldn't be shocked if they missed the play-in. I'm not even joking, right? Right now, the top 10 teams are the Timberwolves, the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Suns, the Mavs, the Kings, the Rockets, the Lakers, the Pelicans, and the Warriors. So, who are the Clippers overtaking and better than? They're not better than the Wolves. They're not better than the Thunder. They're not better than the Nuggets, the Suns. They're not better than the Kings, the Lakers, the Pelicans, and the Warriors, right? Houston, we'll see. They've been very solid, but I kind of have concerns of are they that team that kind of like Utah last year kind of overachieved a little bit? Do the Rockets start coming down to earth a little bit here? The Mavs, I still am not super sold on them. A lot of their games have been won on just the heroics of Kyrie and Luka, just hitting game winners and stuff. So literally more than half their games that they've won have came down to a big Luka shot or a big Kyrie shot. Otherwise, they lose that game. So I don't know about them. I'm a little iffy on them. The Lakers are definitely having their struggles too. But I do think that once the Lakers get everybody healthy, especially their defensive guys, I think that they'll be a lot better. I don't know how much better, but I think they'll be a lot better. Pelicans, as long as Zion doesn't fall apart, right? I think the Pelicans will still be up there. And then the Warriors, as long as Steph doesn't miss any extended time, I think they'll be fine. But I just don't see the Clippers working out. Will they make the play-in? Probably. I don't want to say that they wouldn't. Just because, how do you look at their roster and go, there's no way, right? You got to at least assume that they make the play-in. But again, it wouldn't surprise me at all. At all. Right? It wouldn't. They are not good. They do not play defense. Their offense is all stagnant and awkward and clumsy. They're going to have to trade one of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. They're going to have to, because they're not going to be able to trade James Harden. And I just don't think it works with James Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard. They're going to have to trade one of those two. And obviously, you have some time between now and the trade deadline. But, you could be too far behind the 8 ball at that point. Seriously, if they end up going on another extended losing streak, I mean, they could be on the outside looking in. And it's sad to say, and like obviously I don't want anything like major, but like it might take an injury for the Clippers to actually kind of turn it around a little bit, right? Kawhi Leonard and Paul George aren't models of health. They've been healthy thus far, but you got to imagine one of them are going to miss, at least one of them, if not both of them, are going to miss some extended period of time. So if like Kawhi misses like a 10-game stretch, I wouldn't be surprised if the Clippers go like 8-2 in that 10-game stretch. Or if Paul George misses some time, I wouldn't be surprised if the Clippers go like, again, 8-2 in that 10-game stretch. Just because I just think that that's the problem. It's just way too clunky. They have 3 stars that don't fit. I don't know anybody that thought this would work. I mean, I talked repeatedly how this makes no sense for the Clippers. It makes no sense for James Harden, right? Like it didn't make sense for either side. And yet the Clippers really felt that they needed to go get James Harden because of the new arena and they wanted the star power. And guess what? You can have all the stars in the world. It doesn't mean anything. If you're not winning, nobody cares. Nobody's going to be showing up to that new arena to watch a bunch of names on jerseys lose. Right? Like you need to have success. And I just don't see them having that success. I don't see this working out. And I don't know why James Harden thought the Clippers were the place for him to go. I don't know why the Clippers thought, man, James Harden is the place to go. Now look, if at any point they do figure it out, which maybe they do, maybe between now and the trade deadline, maybe they do figure it out. And maybe they are, and they are good. Like, if they figure it out, they have the potential to be tough, right? They have the potential to be scary. I still don't buy them as a contender, even if they figure it out, but because I just don't see them figuring it out enough to be one of the best teams in the league. But I wouldn't be surprised, like, if they figured it out to a point where they're, like, there's questions, like, oh, wait a minute, like, are the Clippers for real now? Right? Like, if that happens, you know, maybe you kind of talk yourself into keeping everybody. I just think even if you did go on a run, I still think you need to unload guys. I just think you need to, because again, you're not going to be able to trade James Harden. Okay, so can you take, you know, a Paul George or Kawhi Leonard and sell them to the highest bidder? I mean, they were already shopping Paul George at the trade deadline, or not at the trade deadline, in the offseason, right? The Knicks could have gotten him. They were close to getting him. They just decided the asking price was too high, right? So at the trade deadline, do the Clippers kind of feel desperate and go, you know, we're 5 games under 500 still, and we're at the risk of missing the play-in. You know, let's go get some depth. Let's go get some guys that kind of round out this roster better. Personally, I think they should trade Kawhi Leonard because I think, because of Kawhi's name and history, I think you might get more for him, right? I think that there are teams that would look like, man, if he's healthy, like he could be game-changing for us. So I could see more teams like Sixers, like the Sixers, I could see the Sixers going, man, like, wait a minute. Like, if we could get Kawhi, like, and he's healthy, Kawhi, Maxey, and Embiid, like, we might be the best team in the East. Maybe even the best team in the league. Like, I could see them talking themselves into that, especially Daryl Morey, where Paul George, I think, is the better natural fit for almost every team. Like, I think Paul George is more plug and play than Kawhi is, because Kawhi at times is just complete black hole, where Paul George, like, he's more willing to kind of contribute and play within the offense and get other guys going and other guys involved. Also, Paul George is the better, just difficult shot maker, right? Like, he's also been the guy that has hit the tougher shots down the stretch to, like, close games and help them and even kind of, like, keep them in games. So I think Paul George, James Harden, and then a bunch of, like, really good quality role guys, if whatever you could get for Kawhi Leonard. Also, Paul George has been the better defensive guy, and he's usually healthier than Kawhi. So I think with all of that, personally, I would keep Paul George over Kawhi, but I think that they got to unload one of these guys. They just got to, right? Like, Westbrook off the bench has been solid, right? Like he's been serviceable. Keep him off the bench. Keep James Harden in the starting unit. Have Paul George, right? Maybe upgrade out on the perimeter. Have a starting five of like, James Harden, Terrence Mann, Paul George. Can you go get a really good, serviceable like forward or something? Right? Like if they could get like, like maybe I don't think they'd be able to trade Paul George or Kawhi Leonard for him, but like maybe you could use one of them to get the trade package to them. Maybe if they could get like a Pascal Siakam or something, I think that might make them better, right? Because Pascal is going to be healthier. He can kind of be like your point forward in ways to kind of like take pressure off of Harden. Also let Harden be more of a scorer at times. The concern would be the 3-point shooting, obviously, but still, like I just think they need the defense. Right, you get a sizable wing that can defend, like I don't know, something like that. That or you just get like a upgrade at center or something, right? One, it's like what's going to be out there, and two, what do you get? I think that they need to get several pieces, right? I think if you can turn Kawhi Leonard into like 2 or 3 like blue chip rotation guys, I think that would be very helpful, very impactful. Because, again, they got to do something. It's not working. And I don't see it magically working. I don't see the Clippers all of a sudden being this really good team. They can't beat anybody other than the Spurs. They can beat the Spurs, right? Like if it wasn't for the Spurs wins, like I mean, they would be like 5 games under 500. And I don't see them really turning it around. I just don't think that they can score enough on the offensive side, which is crazy given that you have James Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi. But it's because they're clunky. There's no like motion to their offense. It just doesn't look good. And then you also, on top of that, I mean, the turnover game, right? Because you got Russ, although I will say that they didn't have like a ton of crazy turnovers this time, but they do in previous games, right? Like, I just think you just have a bunch of, triangles that you're trying to fit into a round hole, and it's just not going to work. But as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you think like, yeah, Clippers are cooked unless they make a trade or something? Do you think like, no, like they'll figure it out, they'll turn it around? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below.